Good morning, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us for Conversation Daily News today. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. With a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. And in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you'll be part of my conversation with Dr. Velma Bagby discussing her year and the Catch series. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with their Wednesday headlines. In international news, Ukraine leader defiant as drone strikes hit Russia again. Drones struck inside of Russia's border with Ukraine on Tuesday in the second day of attacks exposing the vulnerability of some of Moscow's most important military sites. Ukrainian officials did not formally confirm carrying out drone strikes inside Russia, and they have maintained ambiguity over previous high-profile attacks. But Britain's defense ministry said Russia was likely to consider the attacks on Russian bases more than 300 miles from the border with Ukraine as some of the most strategically significant failures of force protection since its invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin spokesperson said that Russian authorities will take the necessary measures to enhance protection of key facilities. Russian bloggers who generally maintain contacts with officials in their country's military criticized the lack of defensive measures. A fire broke out at an airport in Russia's southern Kursk region that borders Ukraine after a drone hit the facility, the region's governor said on Tuesday. In a second incident, an industrial plant 50 miles from the Ukrainian border was also targeted by drones, which missed a fuel depot at the site, Russian independent media reported. In national news, restoring power after shootings could take until Thursday, says reports in North Carolina. Power should be restored by Thursday morning to thousands of homes in the central North Carolina county that has been without electricity for several days after an attack on the electric grid, the governor said on Tuesday. I hope it's earlier. People are really hurting, the governor told reporters in Raleigh, North Carolina. Duke Energy said crews were making progress on restoring power to Moore County, where authorities said one or more people shot up two substations, but the repairs won't be complete until later in the week. Officials have said the damage requires sophisticated repairs and delivery of equipment from outside of the area. Nearly 36,000 customers were without power in the county on Tuesday, down from a peak of 45,000, according to power outage reports. In more national news, January 6 heroes honored for defending Capitol from Trump mob. Law enforcement officers who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 were honored Tuesday with congressional gold medals, praised as heroes for securing democracy when they fought off a brutal and bloody attack by supporters of then-President Donald Trump. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi opened an emotional ceremony, tensions still raw in the stately Capitol Rotunda, which was overrun that day when Trump supporters roamed the halls trying to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden's election. January 6 was a day of horror and heartbreak. It is also a moment of extraordinary heroism, staring down deadly violence and despicable bigotry, Pelosi said. In bestowing Congress' highest honor, Pelosi praised the heroes for courageously answering the call to defend our democracy in one of the nation's darkest hours. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell said, "Thank you for having our backs. Thank you for saving our country. Thank you for not only being our friends, but our heroes." In entertainment news, Kirstie Alley, Emmy Award-winning Cheers star, dies at 71. Kirstie Alley, a two-time Emmy winner whose roles on the TV mega-hit Cheers and in the Look Who's Talking films made her one of the biggest stars in American comedy in the late 1980s and early 1990s, died on Monday. Alley died of cancer that was only recently discovered, her children said in a post on Twitter. Alley's manager confirmed the death in an email to the Associated Press. As iconic as she was on screen, she was an even more amazing mother and grandmother, her children's statement said. She starred opposite Ted Danza as Rebecca Howe on Cheers, the beloved NBC sitcom about a Boston bar from 1987 to 1993. She joined the show at the height of its popularity after the departure of original star Shelley Long. Alley would win an Emmy for Best Lead Actress in a Comedy Series for the role in 1991. And finally, in business news, U.S. stocks lose ground as markets ponder the Fed's next moves. Stocks are losing ground again on Wall Street in afternoon trading Tuesday as traders ponder the Fed Reserve's next move in its campaign to cool stubbornly high inflation. The S&P 500 fell 1.3%, with roughly 90% of the stocks in the benchmark index in the red. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 435 points, or 1.3%. The Nasdaq fell 2.1%. The broader market's dip comes a day after stocks pulled back as stronger than expected readings on the economy raise worries that the Fed has a ways to go in getting inflation under control. The Fed is doing that by intentionally slowing the economy with higher interest rates. Investors are closely watching economic data and company announcements to get a better sense of how the economy is handling stubbornly hot inflation. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good morning, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Today, lean on the one who cannot fail. Rely on the strength that only he can provide. Have an amazing hump day. We are part of my conversation coming up with Dr. Velma Bagby in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Dr. Velma Bagby joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about her year and the success of the Catch series. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Dr. Velma, hello to you, and welcome back to the program.
Hi, Cyrus. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, the pleasure is definitely all mine. So a lot for us to get into. As I mentioned, there is a third book that is coming out for 2023 in the Catch series. I want to first of all talk about that. We're going to talk about the year, but I mean, could you have imagined at the beginning of this year, Dr. Velma, that there would even be a Catch series?
No, I didn't imagine it at all. I only thought about that one novel. I was trying to load and make sure I met my deadlines in terms of when I promised the book would be released, and that was all I thought about at the time.
And so now here we are with you having The Catch No One Wants out, of course, the novel that you mentioned, The Catch No One Wants, the homework basket, the nonfiction book, and now a third book, which goes back to a novel, which will be the second novel in this series that's going to be coming up for 2023. I mentioned to you right before we went on here that I wanted to talk about kind of setting the stage for what our audience can expect, right? So going back to the novel, The Catch No One Wants, talk to us about how this all began, Dr. Velma. Where did the idea for the novel come from?
The idea for the novel came from my study and understanding how Jesus told his parables. And it was one day I was just browsing through one of my author blogs, and she decided to respond to the people among the Christian community who were not warming up to the idea of Christian fiction. And that's when she addressed the over 50 parables that Jesus had spoken. And even as I began to approach writing, I was thinking, okay, this needs to be a fiction book. What category? How do I approach this? And when I read that, it really just gave me the freedom to move forward, because once I understood how Jesus formulated his stories, his parables, they're simply fictional stories.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News, but we'll get on tomorrow with more news, message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Now let's go make the right one.